Hello everybody, welcome back to the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster Perfect Stats Guide. So in the previous video there was obviously the initial video where I kind of described a bit about what my goals were and kind of how things were going to play out a bit. I do want to note one thing here, and that is that on the way here I actually didn't get into any random encounters at all. I prefer to actually do that at least for this trip. The reason for that is, nothing out here is missable as far as rages go, and then on top of that, nothing of all of these separate rages that we could kind of get on the way. I don't really find any of them to be, vital to any of our strategies going forward. There is one sort of exception to that. And that's the Dark Wind enemy. And the Dark Wind is basically it looks like a bird. And you can find them either on the plains or the forested area on the way. And the Dark Wind casts Break when Gao selects it for when he rages. And that's great for a fight that's, I suppose, well, it's quite a ways off. But that rage actually is really good. But the thing is, there's another enemy that will be able to use that on the way as well. So we'll pick up the other one instead for the time being. There I grabbed the Noise Blaster. I think that's very important. I love that tool. It's phenomenal. So definitely pick that up, as well as the couple of treasures here in the treasure chest. But yeah, anyway. So as I was saying with the Dark Wind. And the leaf that it's in a formation. The one that I like is it's 2 leaf bunnies and 2 dark winds together, and that specific one is found in the forested area. But here's the thing. All right, so again, my goal here early on is to set up the Velt in a way so that it's really fast to cycle it, because there are certain formations and enemies that I want to run into more often. And what I'm going to end up doing here is so Pack 1 right now has a couple of different formations in it. It's got the Guard Leader, that's the boss fight from the first video, as well as the Silver Lobo ×2. It's also got the Guard ×2 formation in it. So as of right now, at this moment, there's actually only 2 formations in Pack 1. And actually, I think that's the only 2 formations. Is that right? That we've run it? No, I'm sorry. There's one more. There's a guard or 2 guards, 1 Silver Lobo pincer formation that I actually, that's a forced fight as well. But anyways, so the idea here is again to keep these packs kind of with not a whole lot of formations in them, and that way we're going to run into those formations more often, and then on top of that, so. As I was saying there with the Leaf Bunny Darkwind formation, so that one is found in Pack 2. Again, though, that's the Leaf Bunny ×2, Darkwind ×2. There actually is a single Leaf Bunny and a Leaf Bunny ×2 and a single Darkwind that is found in Pack 1. But I did not want to do that. Again, I think that eventually I will grab the Leaf Bunny ×2, Darkwind ×2, but not right now. And why is that? Well, if you don't take that and you don't take any of the enemies on the desert area outside of South Figaro, as well as there's one formation, it looks like, from the cave, the original cave that we went through, and then there's a cave coming up as well. Anyways, what I want to do here is I want to keep Pack 2 completely empty. And then that way that pack will just get skipped when we're cycling the Velt. And we can get on to, more, or I would say, or I would argue better formations. So that's the idea behind that. Again, if you don't really care about that stuff, or you're not worried about it, then don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world to get some of these pack formations in there right now. But again, that's at least my rationale for avoiding that stuff at the timing. And again, none of this stuff is actually, or none of this stuff has been missable so far. So So yeah, that's not something that that you need to worry about if that is something that you're concerned about for later on. Now, there will be a couple actually enemies coming up here in a little bit that we actually will have to worry about that. But again, I will make sure obviously to point that out when we come across them. But also, right before you enter South Figaro Castle, there I forgot to toss this in there right when I stepped inside. But what I actually did there was I think I had Locke and Terra completely stripped of their gear because I was worried that I was going to get into battles on the way to the castle, and then I would want to basically get a game over there by basically either nuking them down or attacking themselves. And again, the reason why I do that is because I don't want to just run away oftentimes and then go to the title screen and then reload the game. That process actually just adds a bit of time. And so it's actually just better if you can, nuke yourself down. That way it skips all that stuff where, again, you're going through your menus and, reloading your game, because there is some load time, with that. So so what I did there was I had removed all of their equipment on the way down, just in case I needed to, kill them off quickly, right? So you basically, remove all your armor, remove your shield so that you're not evading as often, and you don't have the defense and the magic defense. So it's just easier to get your characters to, I guess, die off. But that said, re-equip your characters right before you step inside the castle. Locke, the problem is you can still kind of equip Terra right now, but you can't equip Locke. And there is a battle coming up. It's not the end of the world if you forget, right? But him not having any armor for this battle coming up isn't the greatest thing ever. But not super critical. It's easy enough to do without that. The noise blaster is going to really make sure that we're super safe for that fight coming up. But all right. So anyways, so obviously we're trying to. Locke and Edgar are trying to get Terra to safety, and the plan here is to meet up with Bannon, who is the leader of the Returners, which is the what are they? They're like a rebel freedom group that is opposing the Empire. They're the good guys. All right, and Kefka is basically tipped off that Terra may be here, and he basically wants her back. Right? She is a very, for one thing, she's very powerful, but on top of that, her heritage is, I suppose, genetics. Really is of interest to the Empire. So, all right. So here, the Kefka knows better. Kefka knows that she is here, and so he lights the place on fire. And so I should add, and I kind of brought this up in the original video that I did for this, but I love Edgar. Edgar is one of my favorite characters in the entire game. He's incredibly powerful. And especially for these low level kind of perfect stats type of challenge, that noise blaster is amazing. And on top of that, even auto crossbow right now is really good. I'll be honest though, that the auto crossbow for me, I feel like that kind of is reduced in usefulness fairly quickly. But for the time being, it's pretty good. The great thing about Edgar is, especially with those tools, is they do the same amount of damage from the back row. And, again, with these low-level sort of challenges, that's generally where you want to have your characters, because they're just a lot safer in the back row. So, all right, here is the fight that I was referring to. It's the two Magitek armors here, and they chase the chocobos down. So what I'm going to do here is try to get a noise blaster off right away. And one of the kind of interesting things about these guys is, and you'll kind of come across a lot of this Magitek armor, and actually a lot of other enemies will use the Magitek laser. That's the skill right there. And the Magitek laser is considered a magic skill, so not only can you use Runic to absorb it, eventually we'll get Celeste in our party to do that, but also when you use the Noise Blaster, and they use Magitek laser on either themselves or each other, it will not reset their confusion status. Now, honestly, though, the interesting thing about these guys, though, or I should say about the Noise Blaster, is that the Noise Blaster isn't really treated as though it's, it's not really the confusion status, I think, anyway, or at least not the way that confusion works on our characters. And what do I mean by that is, when you use confuse on your own characters, oftentimes they'll attack their own allies, right? So, like, let's just say Edgar is confused, which is, by the way, super brutal. He can actually use like auto crossbow on all of our party. So confusion is incredibly dangerous. But the way that the Noise Blaster works is the enemies will actually only attack either themselves. I should say, an enemy that's been Noise Blaster will either only attack themselves or their allies. So again, it's not like a true confusion in the way that confusion works for our party, right? Where we will sometimes attack ourselves. It actually, honestly, it strikes me as more of a charm. So again, it'll enemies that you use Noise Blaster on will oftentimes heal or buff will buff our characters, and will also, again, only attack either themselves or their allies. So again, just a really incredibly powerful ability. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on everything, but it's going to do some serious work for us. So. All right. Anyways, we are, we knocked out that battle pretty quickly. That was fairly easy. Also, I thought it was kind of interesting. There normally the freak out scene there between Locke and Edgar, in previous iterations of the game, sometimes that wouldn't happen if Terra was knocked out, or if you didn't cast any spells with her. But they forced the scene now, which is probably actually an okay scene, or a okay change, I should say. I think it does a little bit of a good job, fleshing out these characters at least to some point, especially Locke there, where Locke, says something like, "Hey, whoa, it's not a big deal. We didn't mean to make a big deal out of it, and it's just that people normally can't use those powers, and it's actually really impressive." So. Again, I think that that scene is actually really good. I'm actually kind of glad that they made that change. And so now what happens is, if she is knocked out, when you deal the last bit of health or damage to the enemy there, she'll pop back up and then and cast a fire spell really quick, which is kind of funny. But all right, so here we're actually in the South Figaro cave now. Immediately, unfortunately, and I actually wasn't. It didn't really matter that much, but your characters walk up and use the recovery spring, and that's actually not ideal for what I wanted to do here. Now, all right, so the encounters here and the enemies here are actually missable. So very important that you, I suppose, that you handle this in a very specific way. What I mean by that is, so Gao actually starts out with the Hornet Rage immediately. So that means that we actually don't need this formation, or really actually any formation with the Hornets in it. That's because it's kind of redundant, right? But that being said, if you want to get a complete bestiary, what you should do, and what I recommend doing, is killing a couple of those Hornets and finishing that battle out. And then that way the formation, or the Hornet enemy, will be added to your bestiary. And then at that point, again, my suggestion and what I would do is reset your game, and then avoid that any Hornets, basically. This formation is actually the one that I'm going to keep, and I will save after getting this one. This is the Foper Uruk, and again, these are technically missable, and these are only available on this initial run through the cave. Well, I should say they hang around at least for a little bit, but once we progress to a certain point in the story, these will disappear and they will be replaced with other enemies. So again, I would suggest taking this specific formation. Now, also if you notice here, I took Terra down to 16 health. And the reason for that was that for the same reason I had mentioned earlier there, my goal here is to get through these caves and only get into certain formations. And if I get into a formation that I don't want, I would rather just wipe the party and go right back to my quick save, and that just speeds the process up. Now, here I got kind of lucky and got into the same formation and also got a preemptive. I probably would have just ended up dying there had I not got that preemptive strike, but that's it. And that way, actually, we'll be prepared also for the Mount Kolts trail guide, whatever. I do basically the same thing there. There's almost no formations that I like to take there anymore. That's another change from the original video that I did on this. There's one towards the very end that you can grab, but much in the same way as the Hornet, there is an enemy in there that Gauss starts with automatically. Here, I don't know what happened. I must have came in and grabbed the teleport stone and then went out and saved, and then just didn't finish the rest of South Figaro. So there in that barrel is the teleport stone. And my recommendation is to only grab that. There's a couple of items outside, I should say. Of the items in South Figaro, you can kind of split them up in between items that are outside and items that are inside, and all of the ones outside upgrade in the same way that the items upgrade in the Narsh Cave, and also, by the way, in the South Figaro Cave. So if you notice there, I ran by all of those chests in the South Figaro Cave too. Or if you're at least familiar with the game, you may be wondering why I passed all those up. But those will upgrade as well. And so I don't grab those on the initial run through. Here I'm buying the Bio Blaster. I don't know how necessary that really is right now, but whatever, 750 gil or whatever is fine. And we're actually going to get some more cash here. We're going to go loot the bottom of the rich guy's house here. But anyways, again, so the Mount Colt stuff, there's a lot of redundancy there as well. Again, as I was saying there with Gao actually already learning it's like the Zagrum or something like that. They look like like kung fu type of guys with red pants, and I actually avoid those now because they're redundant as well. It'll be the same thing again as like the Hornet, where I think it makes sense to I guess kill them and finish off one battle with them just to add them to your bestiary, but you don't really need the rage to appear on the Veld. So now I basically just skip them. Again, I'll point that out when I actually come across those. That'll be up here in a couple minutes. But here, so we're just raiding the rich guy's house here. You get the Hermes sandals. Those are great. Very, very helpful for especially Sabin scenario. We're going to be, kind of running around and farming actually on the Veld. We'll do that a little bit, and it just helps to be a little bit faster. Here I actually equipped the Hyper Wrist as well on Locke. I think this looks a little bit goofy because I don't know what I did. I must have restored my health by sleeping or something like that too. So that was annoying too because, again, my intent was to actually just leave everybody really, really low health so that I could, basically get a game over really, really quickly as I was running through Mount Kolts. But what I actually end up doing is setting back up by going back into the South Figaro Cave, running into that, was it the Foper, whatever, Uruk battle, and just kind of knocking my characters down a bit so that, it's just a lot faster to get a game over that way. Here is a potion. Wow, jeez. Yeah, really not that important stuff, but Might as well grab it while we're here. But all right, I'm gonna head up into the item shop as well. I don't know that I ended up buying anything here. I don't know that it's that important. That clock doesn't have an elixir in it, like a lot of the clocks do in the game. And then there's a little hint for for Locke's scenario. There's a cheap little way to get across the river there that I don't know that they really intended that, but yeah. Here's the Relic explainer or tutorial, however you want to say that. Yeah, it's funny too. When I first played the game, I loved the sprint shoes, and now I just feel like they're total garbage. Partially, I think because they added a sort of dash option anyway, and but the thing is, when you pair that up with sprint shoes, you run so fast that you actually end up that it actually kind of can be a problem. So. You can overshoot a lot of stuff, and I don't know. It just it just kind of feels like they're pointless these days. But yeah, and then on top of that, I generally try to equip myself so that I'm always ready for combat or combat oriented. So again, sprint shoes don't do anything for us in combat. So I just generally don't equip those. Here's Shadow. I'm not really sure why, but they changed a little bit of dialogue here when it comes to him as well. They used to, it used to say something like he'd slit his mother's throat for a nickel, and they've changed that. I mean, I guess that's maybe a little over the top, but he'd kill his own best friend for the right price. So I don't know, that really actually changes I think the way that Shadow is viewed. I mean, if you're saying that a person would slit their own mother's throat for a nickel, I mean, then he just he sounds like a psycho. I mean, that that's not even like a mercenary or I don't know how to put that, but there's a pretty clear difference between being willing to kill somebody who brought you into the world and for basically no monetary gain whatsoever. I mean, that's a very clear, that's clearly not somebody driven by cash. That's a actual psychopath. Whereas this version is, he'd kill his own best friend for, what was it, the right price. I mean, that sounds better. I mean, it's still freaking crazy and messed up, but it at least it doesn't seem as psychopathic. But all right, anyways, like I was saying earlier here, I'm actually just wanted to set myself up for the Mount Kolts journey here, and what I mean by that is, again, I wanted to have my characters a little bit lower on health so that I could zip through. And then when I do get into battles, then I can just, off the characters. And so we'll set that up. This is pretty slick, right? Locke is almost one. Well, in most cases, he'll be killed in one hit. So here I'm just going to save outside. I'm going to run back into South Figaro, grab a chocobo, and we'll head on up to Mount Kolts. All right, yeah, 80 gil. The first, it's funny too, because the first time I played the game, I basically avoided chocobos like the plague. I was so cheap that I didn't want to spend any money on chocobos, which is kind of hilarious in retrospect. But now I love them. I pretty much anytime I can jump on one, I'll do that. So yeah. So all right. Anyways, all right. So in Mountain Kolts here, there's a couple of different areas. You've got the inner cave areas and then the outside. And generally with the inner cave, again, I try to not get into any battles whatsoever. Again, so there's basically two formations here, and I think I've got footage of both of those. And one of the formations is the double Zagrum, which again I would say, kill them off. Finish the battle. you know, and then just reset your game, and that'll add it to your bestiary. And then the other formation is this one right here, the 2 Gorgias, and this one is not good in my opinion either. There's just a way better formation towards the end of Mount Kolts here that will actually pick up with a, what is it? It's a Trillium. Is it Kirpius, I think, and then the Gorgias. So it's like 3 different enemies all packed into one formation. And then there is, like I was saying, the Zagrim. Which again, I don't know, you know, it's funny too, when I came back after having not played for a really long time, I actually tried to steal from those guys, and boy, it is just so difficult. The fact, you know, that for one thing, that Locke is at level 5, you know, your steal rates are not great, and then on top of that, it's a rare steal from those guys. And here, this is going to look a little, you know, strange, right? I chopped out some of the travel time. This just ended up being so many resets and so many reloads that I didn't want to, basically didn't want to cut it all up and make it look, you know, like it flowed perfectly. But anyways, you know, at least I think it's pretty obvious where I went and how to get that Gigas Glove that's hidden up there. But yeah, like I said, this ended up being a lot of cuts here, and I just didn't want to splice it all together to make it look, you know, seamless. It's surprisingly a lot of work when, you know, oftentimes you're getting into one random encounter every time you take a step. So this actually, there was only 2 spots here that I think that were really, really bad. That was one of them. And then the final, like, stretch down to Vargas was pretty brutal, too. I had a lot of resets for that. Here is a tent outside. Definitely grab that. We'll be using that one. You really need that. If you haven't bought a tent already, like in town, which obviously I hadn't, we really need that tent for at the, basically before the final stretch to Vargas, because I'll need to, you know, heal myself up. Here again, same deal. This ended up being so many resets that I just chopped out a lot of the, yeah, like the game overing that I had to do, right, and the reloading back to my old quick save. Out here, I got pretty lucky. I think I left in a formation or 2, though. Yes. Okay, so this is one of the formations also that I don't want to get. So this is the 3 Kirpius, 1 Gorgias. I didn't want to grab this one. And then I think there's one more formation out here with 3... yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's Kirpius, but I don't know. Or is it Serpius? I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, 3 bird things. 3 red birds. So yeah, so that was the 2 out here. Again, that I didn't want to get. The final stretch leading to Vargas has all of the monsters that we need all packed into it. So here is the save point. This is where we will want to use the tent. From this point on, unfortunately, you know, I don't really actually want to get into any game overs. I didn't want to have my characters all half dead. Because we've got a boss fight coming up, and I didn't, you know, if you if you run where everybody's, you know, all half dead, that probably actually wouldn't have been the worst thing ever, but it would have required probably a couple of Phoenix Downs. I suppose or have, you know, all 3 characters basically one hit from death, and then, you know, again, if you wanted to use the reset method where you just wipe the party. There would have been a way to do this, but yeah, I didn't go that route, and also I didn't really mind taking the formation here. You don't need to. Again, these formations aren't missable at all. So if you decide that, you know, and here's the formation. But you know, if you're not, if you don't want to see this one on the Velt, I kind of get that, and you actually will be able to cycle, I believe, the Velt even just a little bit faster by avoiding this one. Let me just see. This is the... Let me find it here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So Trillium Gorgus Curpius. So that's pack 4, and there are going to be monsters in that anyway. I think the single Magitek armor, and then the Imperial Soldier times 2 magic hour. Yeah, so that pack will already have some monsters in it, so that's actually not a bad idea to grab that one right now on the initial trip through. Yeah, because there's no way, that's not going to affect our cycle speed anyway. We're going to end up, running into pack 4 regardless of what we do here. I believe those formations that are in pack 4 are in Sabin's scenario, and they are forced. So there's no way around that. So again, grab, or you might as well grab that formation. Now, this one, though, this is the Trillium times 2. Again, obviously, with that other formation, we've already got the Trillium monster in it, so there was no reason to take that. So I just teleported out and then went back to the title screen. And here I zipped through after having taken that that fight where I ended up actually Terra was poisoned there, and then here I'm doing the cutting some of the travel time out here, because again this gets it gets pretty obnoxious, resetting and reloading constantly, and that's what I was talking about with the load time too. That's why I don't like to go all the way back to the title screen. So not only do you have that weird, like, a little bit of load time there, but then when you actually get to see your character, you can't move and do anything for a couple of seconds on top of that. So, again, it's just a lot faster to let your party wipe and kind of just automatically go back to your quick save. All right, so I cut the rest of that battle out. It was really just, hit a teleports down. Oh, okay, reload the title screen and load the game back up. And then here we're making our way. We're getting there. I can see it. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Not gonna lie, this took quite a few resets as well. It's just at the very least there is that one formation that I didn't mind getting. So it's not the worst thing ever, right? If you don't want to do this thing where you take a step and save, take a step, what you can actually do is save and then just keep going until you run into that formation that we don't mind, getting. And then that way we don't have to like game over and stuff constantly. But anyways, that is all the time I've got for this one. As always, I hope the guide was helpful and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.